Dividing fractions, more practice. I'm going to go over what I taught in the last lesson, plus show you kind of a new way, and that's it for today. It's eight frames, eight slides, but it shouldn't take too long, and hopefully it'll help you put some more tools in your toolbox for dividing fractions. All right, let's look at some fraction division problems that we were looking at last lesson. I'm going to do 3 divided by 1/5. And what that means is that I want to figure out how many 1/5 pieces I would have in 3 wholes. So what I can do is I can come over to this wonderful fraction strips website. I'm going to throw 3 wholes up there. And I'm going to then look at 1/5. I'm going to take the 1/5 tiles and start putting them up there until I have what's equal to 3 wholes. Now, I have what's equal to 1 whole right now. And what I want you to notice is that there's a relationship between the whole number and the denominator. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fraction tiles, 1/5 fraction tiles. We have 3 wholes. So 5 times 3 is 15. We're going to end up with 15. So my goal is to get you away from these fraction tiles, but they do help, so use them if you need to. So we have 5 up there now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Told you so. All right, so our answer is 15. Let's look at 2 divided by 1/8. So we're going to take 2 wholes and we're going to divide them into eighths, and we want to know how many eighth pieces there are. So let me clear this. And we want 2 divided by eighths. So again, I'm going to fill in 1, and then we're going to use some multiplication to help us with this division problem. So we're almost there. There we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I have 2 like that, 8 times 2 is 16. So I'm going to end up having 16 1/8 pieces. There's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So our answer is 16. Let's look at 4 divided by 1/3. I got to clear all this off. All right. 4, there are 4 holes there, right? And we're looking at thirds. So those ones are orange. 1, 2, 3. Now we know that it takes 3 to fill a hole, and we have 4 holes. So 3 times 4 is 12. So we should end up with 12. There's 6, 7, 8, what? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the answer is, 12. Now we also looked at kind of the opposite of this when we have a fraction first, and those look like this. So what we're doing here, when you have a fraction first, you're going to try to split that fraction into equal pieces. And I'm going to show you the relationship between the whole number and the denominator here. This is actually kind of fun. So if I come back to my fraction strips, get rid of all of them, you always want to start with the first number that's on your problem. So 1/2. I'm going to get a 1/2 tile. And now I want to split it into 3 equal pieces. So what you can do is you can take these 2 numbers and multiply them together, and that's going to tell you which fraction tile to get. So 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to take my fraction tile, 1/6, and look how many I've got. 3 equal pieces. So when you have 1/2 divided by 3, the answer is going to be 1/6. And it's 1/6 because we want to know one of those, not all of them together. So it's 1/6. All right? Think about this relationship right here. We have 1/3 divided by 4. We want to split 1/3 into 4 equal pieces. So I'm going to get rid of these, find 1/4. 1/4? No, 1/3. 1/3, and we want to split it into 4 equal pieces. Use your knowledge of 3 and 4, multiply them together, and you would get 12ths. I should be able to fit 4 of them in here equally. And check that out. So my answer is 1/12. Remember, we just want to know what the size of one of them is, okay? Now for the last one there, it says 1/4 divided by 2. Use your understanding of multiplication and multiply 4 times 2. And we're going to come back here, pull 1/4 up. 4, we wanted to split it into 2 groups. So 4 times 2 would be 8. And that should fit in perfectly right there. And it does. So 1/4 divided by 2 would be 1/8. Now, you don't want to put those together because you just end up getting a whole. We just want to know the size of one of them. And 1 is 1/8. We happen to have 2 eighths there. That's also equal to 1/4. All right, so go ahead and use this fraction tile website if you want to. I'll put it in the description of the lesson, but I'm also going to show you how you can use pictures as well. So if we come back here, I've split everything into small sections, which is why there are 8 slides. So here we have a problem. It says, Erica makes 6 submarine sandwiches and cuts each sandwich into thirds. How many 1/3 size sandwich pieces does she have? All right, so let's look at, I'm going to use green. Let's look at each section of this. It says, what do you need to find? What do we need to find? We need to find how many 1/3 size sandwich pieces she has. How many 1/3 pieces? Okay. How many 1/3 pieces will she have if she cuts 6 submarines into thirds? Okay. Now, the next one says, what information do I need to use? I need to use the size of each blank of sandwich. That's going to be piece of sandwich. E-C-E, piece of sandwich. I need to use the size of each piece of sandwich and the number of blank she cuts. Well, come back up here. The number of what? Sandwiches. Sandwiches. Doesn't really fit, but you get the idea. Okay, so we're looking at these sandwiches, and boy, that looks delicious. Maybe I should go fix myself some lunch. All right, Erica makes 6 submarine sandwiches, and she cuts each sandwich into thirds. How many 1/3 size sandwich pieces does she have? How will I use the information? I can, and I already said we were going to draw a diagram. Draw a diagram to organize the information from the problem. Then I can use the organized information to find out what? To find how many 1/3 size pieces. I guess this would be like a good example for if I were going to buy sandwiches for the class, and obviously I'd want to save some money, so I'd cut them into thirds, right? And everybody would get 1/3 size. Plus there'd be like chips and vegetables and probably cookies and stuff. So, all right. So now we're here, okay? Erica makes 6 submarine sandwiches and cuts each sandwich into thirds. How many 1/3 size sandwich pieces does she have? Since Erica cuts 6 submarine sandwiches, my diagram needs to show 6 rectangles. You can see there are 3 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rectangles to represent the sandwiches. That's a pretty close representation. I just don't have curved edges. And then I can divide each of the 6 rectangles into thirds. Now, when you're doing this, just do the best that you can. I mean, if it says thirds, make sure there are 3 pieces. If they're not perfect, it's going to be okay. For example, I would probably do mine like this. And you can see that that first one is a little bit smaller, but I still have what's pretty equal 3 pieces. So I'm not going to be picky about how your diagrams look unless they are absolutely wrong. If you have the right number of pieces, I'm not going to worry too much. Okay, so to find the total number of thirds in the 6 rectangles, I can multiply the number of thirds in each rectangle by the number of rectangles. So we have 6 rectangles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's here. And we cut each one into thirds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's here. Now what you can do is you can multiply those two. So they gave you the 6 already. You have the 3, and your answer is 18. And you can prove that simply by counting. We have 1. Let me change colors here. We'll go to red, and I'll go to the thicker marker. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now, hopefully you're catching on that the multiplication and division have a relationship. And that's true if you're thinking about regular inverse operations. So for example, 5 times 3 is 15, but 15 divided by 3 is 5. It's very, very similar to that. It just looks different because it involves fractions. All right, let's look at the next section. Try another problem. Roberto is cutting 3 blueberry pies into halves to give to his neighbors. He is a nice kid. I hope he comes to my house because I love blueberry pie. How many neighbors will get 1/2 of a pie? Now, we're going to go through the same steps for this. What do we need to find? We need to find, I'm going to use blue for blueberries. We need to find the number of neighbors to get 1/2 of a pie. Okay, it's the number of neighbors that's important. That's what we're trying to find. What information do you need to use? You need to use the size of each pie, which is 1/2 of a pie. And you need to know the number of pies that he's cutting. And the number of pies was right back up in the problem. It's 3 pies. Okay. So essentially we have 3 divided by 1/2. Now, hopefully you can start to predict the answer with your knowledge of the whole number and the denominator. But just kind of stick that in the back of your brain. Okay, now that third part there says, how will I use the information? We are going to draw a diagram. Okay, I like drawing sometimes just because it's kind of fun, but do remember that it takes up a lot of space, so you should be using this as a tool to kind of help you solidify the process in your brain so you can do it mentally. Okay, so here's the last page. Roberto is cutting 3 blueberry pies. Let's draw the blueberry pies first. Now notice I did not make a perfect circle. It does look pretty good though. Another one and 3. Okay, he makes 3 blueberry pies. And it says that each neighbor is going to get 1/2 of a pie. So I need to split these into halves. You could split them going this way if you wanted. You could split them going this way. You could split them going this way. Notice that each time I split it, each side is pretty equal. If you split it like this, that is not a half. That is an unequal cut down that pie. You might do that with your siblings, but you should not do that if you're going to be passing out pies like Roberto is here. So I'm just going to go back to the vertical one, and I'm going to split each pie into half the best that I can. So I started with 3 pies, and we cut them into halves, and I need to know how many pie halves I have so that I know how many houses Roberto's going to go to. And we have 1 here, that's going to be for Mrs. Kuiper. We have 2 here, that's going to be for Mrs. Albright. We have 3 here, that's going to be for Mrs. George. We have 4 here, that's going to be for Mrs. Obahanek. We have 5 here, that's going to be for Mr. Worth. And we have 6 here, that's going to be for Miss Witkowski. So we have 6 pieces, 6 half pies that will be distributed to the neighborhood. And if you remember, the relationship between the whole number and the denominator should help you. Now, your homework today is to do kind of the same thing. You have a little bit less space, so do what you can. I know it's hard to draw on the computers. It's a little bit easier if you have an iPad or a tablet. So if you draw it, you can always upload a picture of it and then just write the answer in on the page, or you can try to squeeze it in. It's up to you. What I'm really going to be looking for is, do you have the right answer? Good luck.